If extraterrestrials visited the Earth, would it change our theology? To learn more, stay tuned for Reach Out and Live. Welcome to Reach Out and Live, a program of music and scripture and sermon brought to you each week by the many viewers and members of First-Plymouth Church, Lincoln, Nebraska. Hi, my name's Jim, pastor here at First-Plymouth. Now this week we're in Isaiah 35. We're making our way to Christmas, and I will be exploring the future of humanity. We have our choir, the congregation is gathered. Let's worship together.
The prophet Isaiah gives us a vision to a people who were exiled, plucked from their homes and sent to a foreign land. You can imagine if we are plucked from our homes and sent to a foreign land, that we would wonder, when are we ever going to go home? Where is God in all of this? Then the prophet speaks. It's indeed a word of hope, a word of transformation. Listen. The wilderness and the dry land shall be glad. The desert shall rejoice and blossom like the crocus. It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice with joy and shouting. The glory of Lebanon shall be given to it, the majesty of Carmel and Sharon. They shall see the glory of the Lord, the majesty of our God. Strengthen the weak hands and make firm the feeble knees. Say to those who are of a fearful heart, be strong, do not fear. Here is your God. Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf shall be opened. Then the lame shall leap like a deer, and the tongue of the speechless sing for joy. For waters shall break forth in the wilderness, and streams in the desert. A highway shall be there, and it shall be called the Holy Way. The unclean shall not travel on it, but it shall be for God's people. No traveler, Not even fools shall go astray. No lion shall be there, nor shall any ravenous beast come upon it. They shall not be found there, but the redeemed shall walk there. And the ransomed of the Lord shall return and come to Zion with singing. Everlasting joy shall be upon their heads. They shall obtain joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away.
It is a thrill of hope. This ancient Hebrew poem you have in your hand, Isaiah 35, it is a thrill of hope. It imagines a time when everything is better. All sorrow and sighing shall flee. There will be joy and gladness. There will be no ravenous ones or foolish ones. It seems like in our world there's a lot of ravenous ones and foolish ones. But here, in this thrill of hope, everything is better. Pastor Juan Carlos described that this ancient poem was talking about the joy of finally making it back from exile. But the earliest Christians, right away, when they were trying to explain what would it be like when Jesus comes, they went to this poem. They imagine it would make everything better. I think this poem answers a question I've had bouncing around my brain. The question is, where is Christianity? I know this is an oddball question. Where is Christianity located? Where does it really reside? Is Christianity in a book? The Bible's an awesome book. But is this where Christianity resides primarily? Or is Christianity in the creeds and doctrines of the church? Is that where Christianity is? Or is Christianity in an institution? Is it in the churches? It might seem like that's where Christianity is. We have these special buildings where you go to do Christianity. But is that where it really is? Do you know, churches, a special place to go and be religious, are more a modern phenomenon than you think. In the 1700s, only about 10% of Christians in America went to a building to do Christianity. Churches began to flourish across our land and then increased radically when we had automobiles and central heating and air conditioning, and there's 360,000 churches now. Prior to that, Christianity was primarily in the family, in villages, in everyday life. But in a modern pluralistic society, and based on the philosophy of John Locke, when you have differing opinions and you have to avoid religious violence, you create special places where you go to do religion. Makes sense. Where is Christianity primarily located? Is it in the individual heart? Is it deep inside you? Maybe, but Christianity isn't merely in individuals. It's also in communities. I think this poem has answered it. Where is religion? Where is the faith? It's in the striving for things to be better. It's in that basic impulse for better human beings, for a better world. Religion is in that yearning that things could be so much better. And so it is thrilling to me. Every week when we gather and join in that striving to help make the world better, to make human beings better, Avi Loeb is a theoretical physicist. Got his doctorate in plasma physics. He's officially a smart guy. I mean, even in his 20s, he was heading up a team for the Strategic Defense Initiative, if you can remember that. He is now the chair of the Department of Astronomy at Harvard. I mean, he's a theoretical physicist, astrophysics, but he's kind of a polymath. He's now chair of the astronomy department, and just last week, he was at a forum on quantum photonics, a bunch of physicists sitting together, and one of those scientists asked him, "What is the future of humanity?" And I found his reaction very interesting. First, he said, "Well, of course, predictions are difficult. So let me qualify anything I say first, that it's very hard to predict the future because qualitative revolutions will take place that change the course of even the questions." And he said, he went to these two examples. You might not remember in the late 1800s, cities were in a crisis. There was so much horse manure in cities, they didn't know what to do. This was a serious problem. The best minds were being harnessed to try to solve this problem. Way too much horse manure. But then a qualitative revolution takes place and that problem disappears completely. So predicting the future is difficult. He reminded them that in the 20th century, the best minds were concerned about how do we get telephone lines to everyone in the world. I mean, that was our way of being connected, and this was a major problem for the world. Can we lay down enough lines, and then boom, wireless comes in. We can all be connected. So he said, you have to watch out for qualitative revolutions, and I see 3 coming in the future of humanity. He saw 3 things. First, he said to this group of physicists that sentient artificial intelligence will change everything. He said, right now, we have artificial intelligence, but it's primarily human beings talking to AI. So, for example, have you ordered your prescriptions at Walgreens lately? You navigate completely through artificial intelligence. You just talk to this person in normal human language. It's not a person, AI, and then you get your prescription. So already you're interacting a lot. You probably have Alexa, or you might have a driverless car. I do all my banking through AI. I don't have a brick and mortar bank. I just call up and start talking to the AI. Whatever I need done, they walk you through. So a lot of our services are being navigated now with sentient artificial intelligence. He said the big change is coming when AI starts talking to AI. And it begins to form its own community, and it has access to resources, and it will create its own societal norms, as it were. He said, qualitative revolution. Predicting the future is hard. And then secondly, he said, we are getting so good at replacing body parts, you might not be tracking how good we're getting at replacing body parts, and you just keep getting a little better until you can replace most of your body parts, and then life expectancy will soar. What would it be like for society even 75 years from now if people are living 250 years? It's likely going to happen. What is the future of humanity? And then he offered his last qualitative revolution. Avi Loeb said to these other physicists, it is essentially statistically guaranteed that we will have an encounter with an extraterrestrial intelligence greater than our own. Avi Loeb is sort of famous for the math he does on this. He says it's just about guaranteed. Consider our Milky Way galaxy, our home galaxy. Consider how large it is and how many stars. It's 100,000 light years across, just our home galaxy. Light travels at 186,282 miles per second, and it takes light 100,000 years to cross our own galaxy. It's big. And he says, let's say there's approximately 400 billion stars. If you're just doing the math, it looks like there might be about 10 billion stars in our own galaxy with a planet that is orbiting it at the range that might produce life. So there might be some 10 billion chances for intelligence to develop elsewhere. And then he says, remember, there are 1 trillion galaxies in the universe. So statistically, he says we will have an encounter with an intelligence greater than our own. And how might that change us? How would it speed up our tech and such? He thinks it's almost guaranteed it will be an intelligence greater because he reminds his Harvard class at the beginning of every semester, half of you in the room are below average. He just reminds them, half of you are below the median. You might think you're at Harvard, but half of you are below the median. So, cosmically speaking, there's almost no chance we're above the median. I was enjoying hearing Avi Loeb's riff on the future of humanity. But at the end, after listening to him speak, I realized I think he's missing something. He's talking only about technological progress. And I thought, the future of humanity? Here would be a qualitative revolution. What if human beings become better as persons? You want to talk about a qualitative revolution. What would it be for the future if we became better? More compassionate, more joyful, more courageous, more honest. What if we became better? It would change everything. Oh, consider a qualitative revolution just in compassion. Consider this. You see, our compassion right now, it's severely limited by distance. So, for example, we are remarkably compassionate to those closest to us, stunningly compassionate. If someone is in your family or a good friend, the amount of compassion that will pour forth from you is amazing. You are so agile and intrepid in caring for those right around you. Your compassion is epic. But it doesn't seem to travel to a great distance. Well, this would be a qualitative revolution. What if our compassion could expand to people beyond the inner circle around us? It would change everything. These past 2 years, 600,000 Ethiopians were killed in an internecine war. These past 2 years, 600,000 Ethiopians have been killed. I've barely thought about it at all. Have you heard me preach about that at all? It's so difficult for our compassion to extend across space to greater distances. Think how much everything would change if our compassion expanded, and that we would be just as agile, just as intrepid about pulling together resources and energy to help people in need anywhere. It would change everything. You might not have noticed it, but in our Gospels, Jesus is often trying to do exactly that thing. He knows you're compassionate. He knows that. But he's trying to expand it. One of the key themes in the Gospel is him trying to expand your compassion beyond familial ties. He begins to teach us that everyone is our brother and sister, not just in our nuclear family. He seems to be trying to deconstruct your pure allegiance to a nuclear family. He says, I've come to teach you to hate your brothers and sisters. These sentences sound so hard for us to hear. One person wants to bury his father. He says, leave the dead to bury the dead. Follow me now. He seems to reject his own family and they him. He seems to be trying to help our compassion transcend that limitation to our blood ties. What if everyone was our brother and sister? It would change everything. Well, I think Avi Loeb might have missed some qualitative revolutions that could take place. I mean, what if we could become more joyful? Think how much that would change. We have a lot of happiness that kind of bubbles around and bounces around from person to person. We have lots of moments of happiness, but joy is something else. Joy comes from a sense of meaning and purpose. When you know your purpose in life and some of those moments of fulfillment, that's a deeper joy. And I hear so many people these days not being sure about what is their direction in life, what is really my purpose. But if we had more joy, more sense of fulfillment in that direction, change everything. Think of these qualitative revolutions. What if we were more honest? You know, mostly we're dishonest with ourselves. What if we were more honest with ourselves? You see, I rationalize all my behavior. I mean, almost everything I've ever done in life, I've got a good rationale of why I acted that way. It's like the perfect defense mechanism. I can rationalize anything I've ever said and done. If I was more honest with myself, you see, those rationalizations, they slow down my potential for growth. If I could honestly examine my behaviors, my choices, I could grow. What if we were all more honest with ourselves? It could change everything. Isaiah 35. Oh, here is a thrill of hope. It's saying this change will come. And I feel this thrill every time we gather for worship because we gather here with that basic religious impulse. We're striving for things to be better. We are striving together to be better persons. We are striving together for a better world. There is the thrill of hope. Amen.
I hope this time of worshiping together has encouraged you to be as good as you really are. Do you know you could join our worship services live every Sunday at 9 and 10:30 on Facebook, YouTube, or our website? And all of that is made possible by gifts from friends like you.
If you believe that an open-minded, loving congregation can help change the world, then consider making a donation. It will help us increase the love of God and neighbor, both in Nebraska and the world. If you would like to learn more about our church, go to firstplymouth.org. You can watch videos of the sermons, learn about our many programs and missions, then follow us to Facebook and become a friend.
We now worship online at 9 a.m. and 10:30 on YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, and our website. We also add live events, so join us online. I was talking today about artificial intelligence, or AI, but what about SI, spiritual intelligence? You have within you great capabilities to be wise and kind and more gracious, to be more spiritual. If you could harness those abilities, together we will reach out and live.
Tune in again next week for another edition of Reach Out and Live.